Hello and welcome to AWS S3 Training. We'll start with a brief introduction to Amazon S3, AWS's scalable object storage service, where we'll look at what S3 is, how it stores data, and why it's commonly used for backups, applications, and analytics. Lastly, we will go through S3 and how to use its service, like bucket creation and deletion, copying and deleting objects, and a lot more. A quick overview on S3. To upload data into Amazon S3, we first create an S3 bucket in a specific AWS region. A bucket acts as a container that holds our objects, such as photos, videos, or documents, and we can store an unlimited number of objects inside it, with up to 100 buckets per account. S3 uses a global namespace, meaning every bucket name must be unique across all AWS accounts. These names are unique within AWS partitions, which are groupings of regions, standard AWS regions, China regions, and AWS government workloads. Moving on to S3 subresources, the controls and automation that make S3 production ready. CORS cross-origin resource sharing controls how S3 objects can be accessed from web apps and other domains, commonly used for web and mobile applications. Event notifications automatically trigger actions like Lambda, SQS, or SNS when something happens in a bucket, such as an object upload or delete. Lifecycle automates cost optimization by moving objects between storage classes or deleting them after a defined time. Location indicates the AWS region where the bucket is created, helping with compliance, latency, and data residency. Logging records access requests to your bucket for security audits and object locking. Prevents objects from being deleted or overwritten for a fixed period, supporting compliance and data protection. Policy and ACL define who can access the bucket, or objects. Policies handle broad rules, while ACLs manage object-level permissions. Replication automatically copies objects to another bucket, often across regions, for disaster recovery or compliance. Tagging adds key-value metadata to buckets or objects for cost tracking, automation, and organization. Versioning keeps multiple versions of an object, allowing easy recovery from accidental deletes or overwrites. Transfer acceleration speeds up global uploads and downloads using AWS's edge locations. Moving on to S3 naming conventions. When creating an S3 bucket, naming is important because bucket names are globally unique. Names must be between 3 and 63 characters, using only lowercase letters, numbers, dots, and hyphens, and they must start and end with a letter or number. AWS also restricts certain formats: no IP-style names, no consecutive dots, and no reserved prefixes or suffixes used by S3 features. Bucket names must be unique within an AWS partition and can't be reused until deleted. Finally, if you plan to use transfer acceleration, the bucket name must not include dots. Here is a sample on a valid and an invalid bucket name. Now we go to bucket creation. To create an S3 bucket, we start by signing in to the AWS Management Console and opening the Amazon S3 console. From the left menu, we select Buckets and then choose Create Bucket. We then provide a bucket name, making sure it follows the naming rules discussed earlier. Next, we select the AWS region where the bucket will reside, ideally a region close to us, to reduce latency, lower costs, and meet regulatory requirements. For this setup, we recommend using Asia-Pacific Singapore or your account's default region. Next is object ownership, which controls how access permissions are handled in the bucket. By default, ACLs are disabled with the bucket owner enforced setting. This means the bucket owner automatically owns and has full control over all objects, and access is managed using bucket policies instead of ACLs. While ACLs can be enabled if cross-account uploads are needed, for this activity we will keep ACLs disabled, following AWS best practice for simpler and more secure access control. Next, we configure public access and versioning. By default, Amazon S3 blocks all public access, and this is the recommended setting to prevent unintended data exposure, so we keep all 4 options enabled. We then enable bucket versioning, which is a best practice that protects our data by keeping previous versions of objects in case of accidental deletion or overwrite. Optionally, we can add tags to the bucket using key value pairs to organize resources and support cost tracking and management. Next, we configure default encryption for the bucket. Amazon S3 offers two options, SSES3, which uses Amazon S3 managed keys, and SSEAMS, which uses AWS Key Management Service keys. For this activity, we'll use SSES3, which encrypts all new objects by default and provides a cost-efficient solution since it doesn't generate extra requests to KMS. SSEKMS can be used for stricter control, but it may incur additional costs and is subject to KMS quotas. If you choose SSEKMS for server-side encryption, you need to specify the KMS key to use. As for side encryption, you can select from existing AWS managed or customer managed keys. Enter the KMS key RN directly, or create a new customer managed key in the AWS KMS console. This gives you more granular control over encryption and access, but remember it may incur additional costs and be subject to KMS quotas. Now we will run through how to empty a bucket. To empty a bucket, first sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the Amazon S3 console. Select the bucket you want to empty and choose Empty. On the confirmation page, type Permanently Delete to confirm, then click Empty. You can monitor the progress on the status page until all objects are removed. This action deletes all objects in the bucket, so it should be done carefully. Moving on to deleting a bucket, sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the Amazon S3 console. Select the bucket you want to delete and click Delete. On the confirmation page, type the bucket name to confirm, then choose Delete Bucket. To verify, search for the bucket in the list. If it no longer appears, deletion was successful. Note that a bucket must be emptied of all objects before it can be deleted. If it's not empty, follow the prompt to empty it first, then proceed with deletion. Next, let's upload objects to an S3 bucket. Sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the Amazon S3 console. From the left menu, select Buckets, then click the bucket where you want to upload your files or folders. Click Upload, and in the Upload window, either drag and drop your files or folders, or choose Add File or Add Folder to select them from your system, then click Open to start the upload. After selecting files to upload, you can configure additional object properties. Since our bucket has ACLs disabled, we won't modify ACL settings right now. Normally, under Permissions, you can edit the access control list to grant read access to specific users or the public. However, AWS recommends keeping the default settings and avoiding public read access unless it's required, such as for hosting a static website. Object permissions can always be updated after the upload if needed. Next, under Properties, you can configure additional settings for your objects. One key option is the storage class, which determines the cost and performance of storing your files. For most use cases, we use the default S3 standard class, which provides high durability, availability, and performance for frequently accessed data. To update encryption for uploaded objects, go to Server-Side Encryption Settings and choose Specify an encryption key. You can either use the bucket's default encryption or override it for specific objects. If overriding, you can select SSES3 to use Amazon S3 Managed Keys, or SSEKMS to use AWS Key Management Service keys, where you can then choose from available KMS keys. This ensures that your data is encrypted according to your security requirements. Amazon S3 allows you to use additional checksums to ensure data integrity. By turning this option on, S3 calculates and stores a checksum after receiving the object. You can also provide a pre-calculated checksum value. S3 will compare it to the calculated value, and if they don't match, an error is generated. This helps verify that your data was uploaded correctly without corruption. You can add tags to your uploaded objects by choosing Add Tag and entering a key and value. Tags help categorize and organize storage for management and cost tracking. Each object can have up to 10 tags, with key names up to 128 characters and values up to 255 characters. Remember that both keys and values are case-sensitive. You can also add metadata to your uploaded objects by choosing Add Metadata. You can select either system-defined metadata, like common HTTP headers such as content type or content disposition, or user-defined metadata. Then, specify a key and enter a value. Metadata provides additional information about your objects and can be used for management or retrieval purposes. Moving on to copying objects. Again, we must be signed in on AWS Console, then on the console home. Page, search for S3, then on the navigation panel, choose Buckets. Navigate to the file you want to copy to another folder with and click the box beside the name. Under Actions, drop-down button, choose Copy. Make sure to read the warning prompted first. Then, under Destination part, choose the bucket path where you want to copy the objects. Then, under Specified Objects, review the objects you wish to copy and choose Copy. Now you can see the copied object. In this case, the copied object is customers 100.c SV, and the target path copied is to FTB training. We can also move objects in S3. Again, you must be logged in on AWS Console, then search for S3. Then on the navigation panel, choose Buckets, search for S3. Then on the navigation panel, navigate to the file you want to move to another folder with and click the tick box beside the name. Under Actions, drop-down button, choose Move. Again, read the warnings first before proceeding. Under Destination part, choose the bucket path where you want to move the objects. Then, under Specified Objects, review the objects you wish to move and choose Move. The file is now successfully moved. You can now view the moved object to the new path, in this case from fet-by-training/sample/customers 100.c S5 to fd-by-training/destination/customers 100.c SV next. As we go through deleting objects with versioning or suspended. To delete an object from a bucket, sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the Amazon S3 console. Select the bucket, choose the object you want to delete, and click Delete. To confirm, type Delete in the confirmation box. Keep in mind that if versioning is enabled or suspended, deleting an object permanently removes the specified version, and this action cannot be undone, so it should be done carefully. Next is deleting the object permanently with versioning bucket. To permanently delete an object version in a versioned bucket, sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the S3 console. Select the bucket, choose the object, and toggle Show Versions to see all versions. Select the specific version you want to delete and click Delete. To confirm, type Permanently Delete in the confirmation box. This permanently removes that version from S3 and cannot be undone. Now we go to delete object permanently without versioning bucket. To do this, sign into the AWS Management Console and open the S3 console. Select the bucket and the object you want to delete, then click Delete. To confirm, type Permanently Delete in the confirmation box. Keep in mind that this action cannot be undone, so it should be performed carefully. This process only applies to buckets where versioning is suspended, not enabled. Next is Suspend or Enable Bucket Versioning. To manage bucket versioning, sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the S3 console. Select the bucket, go to Properties, and under Bucket Versioning, click Edit. You can then choose to enable or suspend versioning and save the changes. Note that AWS supports multi-factor authentication MFA with versioning. When MFA delete is enabled, you need your AWS access keys and a valid MFA code to permanently delete object versions or to suspend/reactivate versioning. MFA delete, however, cannot be enabled through the console. It must be configured via the AWS CLI or API. Lastly, the bucket lifecycle configuration. To add a lifecycle rule that aborts incomplete multi-part uploads older than 7 days, sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the S3 console. Select the bucket, go to the Management tab, and click Create Lifecycle Rule. Enter a unique name for the rule. Next, define the scope. You can limit the rule to objects with a specific prefix or apply it to all objects in the bucket, acknowledging that it affects every object. This helps clean up incomplete uploads and manage storage costs efficiently. Under Lifecycle Rule Actions, select Delete Expired Object, Delete Markers, or Incomplete Multipart Uploads. Then choose Delete Incomplete Multipart Uploads and specify the number of days after which incomplete uploads should be removed. Finally, click Create Rule. This ensures that unfinished multipart uploads don't accumulate, helping optimize storage and reduce costs.